In the Zone, presented by TD.
It's In the Zone, presented by TD down at Rogers Center. Ben Ennis and Mike Wilner once again. And Mike, we got to talk about the comments Alex Anthopoulos made as we get set for Game 1 of this three-game set against the Chicago White Sox. Talked about this coming off season for what?
4 games.
4-game set. That's my bad. It's not relevant to the question I'm about to ask, though. He talked about this upcoming offseason. It's a big offseason when you look at his tenure, and he didn't downplay the fact that it's a big offseason as well. But interesting comments where he's not too concerned about the offense, not concerned about the bullpen, especially with the additions he's made with those 2 trades. He's concerned about the starting pitching, and how can you not be with a couple of guys going to be lost for almost all of next season with Tommy John surgery. And he didn't close the door on overpaying for a free agent. He said 1 or 2 guys you can get away with that. You can't build a team that way. What did you make overall of Alex's comments?
Well, first of all, I didn't take it necessarily as he was talking about overpaying for a free agent. He might have also been talking about overpaying in trade, right, which he wasn't willing to do this winter. The Matt Latos deal, the Gio Gonzalez deal, they were both too rich for his blood. The Blue Jays could have had Matt Latos. They were right there with the Reds, but they decided that the package they were going to have to give up was just too much. And you look at the package the Reds gave up, no question, right? And I assume that they could have had some starting pitching at the trade deadline too, but Matt Garza didn't move, Josh Johnson didn't move, those big guys didn't get traded, and I'm assuming it's because everybody thought that those teams were asking too much. Now, if there's a starting pitcher who fits, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a guy who's controllable and a guy who, all those things that the Blue Jays have been looking for the last couple of years. If there's a guy who fits to make this team significantly better in 2013, then Alex Anthopoulos will overpay in trade or in free agency. He's still never going to sign like a C.J. Wilson type of contract or anything like that. But that was great to hear, because the last 2 winners, in talking to Alex about not going for it, because I know the Blue Jays are never going to do anything like that, but which to me means put all your eggs in a basket for 1 year. But in talking to him, he's said to me, look around the field. What are we going to do there? What happens there? There's a question mark there. And so when I asked him in that scrum, do you feel like you've had enough questions answered? And he said yes. I thought, all right, sounds good to me. Here we go.
It is interesting. I look at this team and I see a lot of question marks, honestly. And not just with the starting rotation. Certainly there's question marks with the starting rotation. I see the Blue Jays as maybe one reliable starter, and that guy's injured right now, and that's Brandon Morrow. Ricky Romero, you would like to think is reliable, hasn't really been this season. Henderson Alvarez is young, maybe be a consistent starter down the road, but certainly this year he hasn't been that. But then I look around the diamond, too. First base, okay, if Edwin Encarnacion is your first baseman, then you got a question mark at DH. Second base is a question mark. Kelly Johnson's not around next year, you imagine. Left field has been a question mark all season long. It was a question mark coming out of spring training. And I've question marks about Jose Bautista being able to return from a wrist injury. Never good for a power hitter in his 30s. To me, okay, leave the bullpen out of it. I guess it's a little better, even though Brad Lincoln was hit around a little bit by the New York Yankees. 1 outing. I understand. Those guys are good, and he's got a good curveball, but kind of unproven as well in the major leagues. But I see more question marks than just the starting rotation on this team.
And that's not unfair, I don't think. There's nobody to play second base next year right now. Left field's been a question mark for a decade. Who was the last everyday left fielder? I think it was Shannon Stewart or Jose Cruz Jr. Was it the first time around Shannon Stewart?
Yeah, Candy Maldonado.
Yeah, no, he wasn't even an everyday guy. But yeah, so there's no second baseman, there's no left fielder. There's a question mark as to which of first base and DH Edwin doesn't play. You're absolutely right on all those things. But all those things were still valid. They've had no production out of left field this year almost at all. Thames, Snyder, Davis. Kelly Johnson's had a terrible year except for hitting home runs, which he's been quite good at. And Adam Lind had a terrible year until the comeback, but the comeback from Vegas was only a couple of weeks before he got hurt. So even with no production from those 3 spots, the Blue Jays were leading the major leagues in runs scored 2 weeks ago, right? So that says something to me, and evidently it says something to Alex too, that if you fit in these little pieces, even if you go with Anthony Gose as your left fielder, batting ninth all year last year, and he hits 200, but because he's hitting 200, he has a 600 slugging percentage, because every time he gets on first, he winds up at third, you're fine with him and with that defense, and you can still score a crap load of runs. I like the bullpen. I really do. If Santos comes back, which he's expected to start throwing in November, with Jansen, with Lincoln, Delabar, Loop, that's 5 strong guys, even if Oliver, Fraser don't come back next year. So I think the bullpen's fine. I think they're really trying to get that Texas-St. Louis model from last year where they had both teams, mediocre starting pitching, lights-out bullpen, and they were both in the World Series. So I really like the way that Alex is thinking. And if you can go in to next year by picking up a second baseman, finding a left fielder, those things are easy to find relatively. It's been tough for the Blue Jays, I know. But when you're in that mode of final piece putting together, those things are not that difficult to find. And you bring in a third starter so that you can go Morrow, Romero, new guy, or even Morrow, new guy, Romero, and Henderson Alvarez fourth and J-Happ fifth. I think that's good enough.
Someone's going to get injured, though. I mean, next season,
I think they're done with that. It can't possibly be anymore.
I mean, it can't possibly be as bad as it's been this year, but somebody always gets injured. So you always need pitching depth. I'm sure the Blue Jays will try and take care of that as well. Getting back to free agency, we'll get to Rajai Davis' catch in just a second because I want to talk about that. But you mentioned no $100 million contract, so I guess that means no Zach Greinke either.
Zach Greinke didn't want to come here 2 years ago. Why would he want to come here now? I mean, he wanted specifically to pitch in the National League. And he wanted to pitch for a contender. And the Blue Jays may fancy themselves a contender next year with the pieces, and they may be able to do a sell job on people and say, look at how many guys we lost and how well we still wound up doing. But this is a team that has a realistic potential of being a 90-loss club this year because of all the injuries. So no one who wants to go to a contender is going to come to the Blue Jays unless they're drastically overpaid. And I don't think Zach Greinke wants to pitch in the AL East either.
Yeah, it makes sense. It really does. Rajai...
I make sense.
Occasionally. Rajai Davis is what, 5'8"? He made maybe the best physical catch. Obviously, circumstances aren't the same as the Devon White catch, but maybe the most athletic and best catch a Blue Jay has ever made. That was amazing. He's the first Blue Jay to rob a home run here at Rogers Center.
Yeah, the walls are 10 feet high. They are designed to keep balls in play because of the turf to cut off on ground rule doubles. But it's 10 feet. It's not impossible to get over, and we saw Anthony Gose get over it a couple of weeks ago but not be able to pull back a home run. But it was just, I mean, it was ridiculous. All the things that led up to it, the fact that he slowed down and then took those 3 hard steps, pushed off the wall and went up and made that grab, the timing, it was, I've never seen anything like it here. I never thought I would ever see anybody pull a home run back at Rogers Center.
Wow, he had no faith. I hope he paid for that hole he put in the wall as well. He put a nice hole in the wall with his cleat.
It's just in the sign, though. It's just I'm sure he was out there sewing it up after.
Yeah, probably. We got a chance to sit down, or at least I did. I got a chance to talk to Rajai Davis about that catch. Here's that conversation. Rajai, that catch, go down in history. You're the first Blue Jay to ever steal a home run at this ballpark. How many times have you done that in your career, whether it's minor league ball, major league?
Maybe a couple times in my career. It's definitely something that doesn't happen often. I mean, obviously you have to have the perfect ball. You got to be in the right position, and the ball can't be hit too hard, or otherwise it's really tough. So, it's definitely it's a rare occasion where that can happen.
Rajai, this is your 10-foot high walls here. I mean, so it's understandable that guys don't go up and steal home runs very often here, but you have to time that thing so perfectly. How many calls did you get from family members, friends, guys from around Major League Baseball talking about that catch? Because it's one of the top 5 catches we've seen in baseball this year.
Well, I can't even name them. It was just amazing. But just to see that, the people that you grew up with, that people you play with are still watching you and still following, it's just nice. It's a great opportunity, just to get the exposure. So, I'm looking forward to doing some, helping us win and, doing some other great things.
You can see it in your eyes. I mean, you made that catch, and obviously you anticipated making it. That's why you went up there. But it must have been still a little surprising because a lot of guys try that. They try that timing thing, and it's very rare that it works out perfectly where you end up with your glove right underneath the ball, and you could kind of see your reaction afterwards where you were kind of grinning ear to ear. And did you sneak a peek at the replay behind you at all?
I didn't get to check out the replay, but I seen plenty of them, the replay. So it was definitely nice to just help us win.
Thanks, Rajai.
All right, thanks, Pat.
There's Rajai Davis, and like I said before we got to that interview, one of the best catches in the history of the Blue Jays, especially here at this ballpark. Now, I don't remember the Ken Griffey Jr. catch, but apparently he did rob a home run here, so it's just him and Rajai Davis, and you don't remember that either.
I don't remember that either. Jerry Howarth does, and that's good enough for me because he's seen every baseball game that's ever been played here. Someone mentioned Tom Goodwin of the Royals going up and getting one. I don't remember that one. Neither does Jerry, so let's just give it to Ken Griffey and to Rajai. That's it. I mean, those are two phenomenal athletes making incredible catches.
Yeah, that's awesome. The injuries are a recurring theme for this Blue Jays team all season long, especially now. Thought maybe we'd see Brandon Morrow a little sooner. Apparently, it's not a setback. They just want to give him an extra start. And Brett Lawrie as well, working his way back.
Yeah, Morrow was supposed to have his last rehab start Tuesday, which is probably the day this is going to go live in New Hampshire. But they're going to give him one more now. They want to make sure he's at 85 pitches already when he comes back instead of coming back ready to throw 85 pitches. So his anticipated return to the Blue Jays is now, I believe, August the 24th, which is last day. No, it's the Friday. It's the first Friday of the next road trip. Brett Lawrie is eligible to come off the DL on Sunday. He probably will, but he's going to go down to New Hampshire or Dunedin, stay in Dunedin, and have a couple of rehab starts there. We're still looking at September for JPR and Sebia, and who knows, Jose Bautista with the wrist. He's starting to swing again, but they're going to be very, very cautious with him.
Yeah, obviously no rush for any of those guys. He's Mike Wilner. Follow him on Twitter at Wilnerness590. You can follow me on Twitter at BennisSnet. You can check out our audio podcast as well on sportsnet590.ca. This has been In the Zone presented by TD. We'll see you next week.